Dog bites are common in Kenya.
Since last year, 2017, April, we recorded 749 dog bites.
Yes, those are statistics from Makueni County.
For vaccination is 70% of the dog population.
On this show, the case of Priscilla Mutindi, who's been going through the pain of a dog bite. But how has her situation been managed? Also on this show, why Makueni County is one of the leading counties in Kenya when it comes to raising awareness on the importance of responsible dog ownership. This as the world marks the World Rabies Day. Welcome, I'm your host Alex Chamwada, and we begin with our fact sheet. Makueni County is one of the counties in the former eastern province of Kenya and is bordered by Kitui County to the east, Machakos County to the north, Taita Taveta County to the south, and Kajiado County to the west. The county's capital, which is also the largest town, is Wote. Other urban centers in the county are Mtito Andei, Kibwezi, Sultan Hamud, and Emali. There are 6 sub-counties in Makueni County, namely Kaiti, Kilome, Kibwezi East, Kibwezi West, Mboni, and Makueni. Makueni's governor is Professor Kivutha Kibwana. According to the 2009 Kenya National Population and Housing Census, Makueni County registered a population of about 885,000 people. It is 3 weeks since Priscilla Mutindi was bitten by a dog. She has now completed the required vaccination and the monitoring of her situation by doctors at the Makueni Referral Hospital. Dog bites are common in Makueni County, like in many other rural areas where the dog population is high. It was painful, very painful, when it happened to her. The wound has now dried. She is recovering pretty fast, and on this day, we found the nurses performing the last procedure on her.
I had gone to visit my neighbor. While I stood beside the dog, it suddenly came and attacked me. It bit me on my leg, pulled out flesh, and went ahead to feed on it.
When Priscilla was bitten by a dog, her neighbors were in shock and did not know how exactly to give her first aid.
I received first aid from the neighbors who wrapped the wound with my headscarf, but the bleeding was still too much. I called my son, who took me to the hospital.
Priscilla is lucky that the dog that attacked her did not have rabies. It had been vaccinated. If the dog had rabies, Priscilla could have contracted the disease.
Rabies is not curable. World over, rabies is almost always 100% incurable, because rabies will kill you within 10 days once you start showing symptoms.
Mostly we tell them it's very important, each and every household with a dog, to ensure the dog is vaccinated. And we normally tell them when there is a dog bite has occurred in a household, they should wash that wound for between 10 to 15 minutes with a plenty of water which is running and soap. And then they go to the hospital without a delay. Yeah, and in hospital we tell them they ensure they get anti-rabies.
Vaccination after a dog bite is part of post-exposure precaution just in case the dog had rabies.
If people delay to get the vaccine, then this virus can get into the nerve And once it gets the nerve, it will move slowly to the brain. So depending on where you are bitten, if you're bitten close to the brain, then that happens really fast, reaching the brain. But if you're bitten very far away from the brain, it can take as much as 3 months or more.
And it is advisable not to kill a dog after an attack in order to monitor to know whether it has rabies.
And again, we tell them that they don't kill the dog once they are bitten. They should tie the dog or separate the dog or isolate the dog for 10 days. Because the signs and symptoms of a rabid dog, we tell them one is the dog normally produce saliva. It goes biting even wood. It can bite even other things. Yeah, and it goes running all over randomly. Yes. And then eventually after 10 days, that dog, if it's rabid, it has to die.
A recent survey shows that there are about 120,000 dogs in Makueni County. Dr. Martin Boloi is the chief officer in charge of livestock and fisheries development at the county government.
We've started a program of vaccinating dogs in Makueni County, doing a pilot project that aims at eliminating rabies in the county and actually nationally in the country by 2030. So Makueni is one of the pilot counties that is working this program to eliminate rabies in the county. The target for vaccination is 70% of the dog population. Currently, the last 2 vaccinations that we've done, we've hit about an average of 64%, which I think is fairly close. And we this year we are aiming to, to get as close or past 70%.
Since last year, 2017, April, we recorded 749 dog bites. And in Makueni, where we are doing surveillance, is only in Makueni sub-count and Kibwezi West sub-count, only 2 sub-counties. And among the 749, that 4 were sampled for analysis whether they were positive or not. And then we got 29 of them were positive.
Makueni County is known for many fasts and has become the home of benchmarking in Kenya as far as devolved functions of government are concerned. Who would have thought that the county would also be in the limelight about this unlikely subject, that is, raising awareness on the importance of responsible dog ownership? The government has sought the support of various development partners, including World Animal Protection.
In most of these places, when we went there, we actually did a CAP survey to understand the knowledge that people have on taking care of the dogs. And what we found out is, unlike what we thought that people are not taking care of the dogs, people actually were asking questions of how do we take care of our dogs. So now from that, we have undertaken training both at school level, because in places like Makueni and most of Kenya, it's a boy child who takes care of the dog. And then also with the veterinary extension workers, and just teaching people simple practices of responsible dog ownership, how to feed, how to water, make sure that they're vaccinated and medical care. I can say there's a change, because when we first went to Makueni, you would find in most of the town centers quite a number of dogs. Go now, and it's a rarity to find dogs in the town centers, basically because the one aspect, these animals were looking out for food. Now things are changing, where now these dogs are being fed, people are being taught and to know how much they should feed their dogs. And you can actually see that change. You're seeing healthier dogs in body size, and we're seeing dogs now that even when they have litters, they're producing more.
And World Animal Protection is one of our strongest partners towards this goal, with a support in various ways, both financial, staff, education. We are running a program with them, and they support us. They've given us grants to work towards vaccination and elimination of rabies. So far, the grant has hit about 20 million Kenya shillings. And of course, this is including what we also as a county, put in, because wherever they give us funds, we also give a matching grant.
Rabies kills approximately 60,000 people globally every year. In Africa, the figure stands at 24,000. In Kenya, it kills about 2,000 people every year, meaning it kills about 5 people in a day. Players in human and animal health have a global initiative to eradicate rabies by the year 2030.
In history, there hasn't exactly been to date such a campaign in Kenya, and it is part of the National Rabies Elimination Progress. I would say for Makueni, I'd gauge it a very good success, because we have ended up with outcomes that we never thought we'd have. The county government has come in fully supporting the program. They have fully taken it up. And also the Wananchi themselves and the dog owners have actually come in and they have owned the program as their own.
Getting better life for dogs does not compromise quality of life that the humans should have. We are saying we are advocating for responsible dog ownership. A dog is a friend of the human. It's one of the best friends of humans. A dog is used as a security in a lot of homes, actually, as a pet, etc. And therefore, generally we should be, and not just dogs, all animals, should be treated in quotes humanely. We should be as human as possible when we are treating animals. And dogs being what they are, I think they've got a very special place for the human being because of their intellect and the way we actually use them. The other thing is, if we are responsible, we'll also go in a long way to eliminate, transmission of some of the diseases, zoonotic diseases associated with dogs. Because if you take care of your dog, chances of that dog contacting rabies will be very rare.
We now take a short commercial break. When we return, we will speak to Joseph Mutui, a village elder in Miseke village, Makueni constituency. He is involved in training people on responsible dog ownership. Don't go away. Welcome back. Today we've pitched tent in Makueni County and we are discussing responsible dog ownership as the world marks the World Rabies Day. This dog is known as Bruno. She's a special dog in Museke village, Kadhonzweni ward, Makueni County. She is special because she's been at the center of awareness creation in the county on responsible dog ownership. A story has been built around her, a story that is shared widely on how dog owners should take care of their dogs. It is owned by Joseph Mutui. First, we sought to find out why he owns the dog.
Mbwa kwanza ni rafiki yangu na ni rafiki wa kila member hapa kwa nyumba. Pia ni family member na mbwa nampenda tena kwa njia nyingine, huwa nafanya na security kwa nyumba mama yangu. Nikitoka huwa namwacha hapa. Kama vile nimeingia tu saa hizi nimepata kama nalala tu hapa analinda boma. Kwa hivyo ni security.
In the past, it was not easy to hear about people being educated here about responsible dog ownership. But now, veterinary officers are common visitors in villages, he says.
Kuna veterinary officers wa Kadhonzweni area Makueni County. Huwa wanatembelea vijijini wakati tuko na baraza. Kuna wakati wanaleta agenda ya kufunza namna kutunza mbwa.
Joseph has been taught about animal rights.
Kitu wa kwanza tuliambiwa mbwa ako na akili. Na huwa anawaza, na huwa anapata na stress na anastahili kutunzwa. Kitu wa kwanza ni lazima achanjwe. Kuna hiyo ugonjwa wa kichaa. Tuliambiwa hata ukisema kwa magazini na kwa media unaona kichaa ni ugonjwa na hatari sana. Na kwa sababu ni ugonjwa hatari sana, inatokana na mbwa. Kwa hivyo ni vizuri kuchanja mbwa. na hapa area yetu huwa tunachanja kila December.
Indeed, in this village, the common message is, if the dog is man's best friend, then the rights that can make that friendship a reality should be implemented. The rights include freedom from hunger and thirst, freedom from discomfort, freedom from pain, injury, or disease, freedom to express normal behavior, and freedom from fear and distress.
Mifupa ni hatari kwa mbwa. They do tend to choke. Mbwa anaweza kuwa amekaa sana bila kula. Alafu saa anakuta hiyo mifupa anameza bila kujua, alafu inachoka. Maana kulingana na habari zile tulikuwa hapo tumepata, mifupa imeua mbwa wengi. Ndio hatutaki ya kubia mifupa. Kama ni mfupa utakuta hiyo mifupa iwe ni kubwa, futi moja hivyo, na iko na nyama na tuna ukando. Atawacha mfupa hapo.
Joseph, being among those who are now knowledgeable about responsible dog ownership, is one of the ambassadors in the county's initiative to spread the word.
Kama mbwa amekuuma, immediately, hata kama alikuwa amepewa chanjo, make sure that hiyo wound, mahali ameumwa, usafishe na maji mingi, na maji safi na sabuni, uhakikishe imekuwa safi. Alafu immediately uende kwa hospitali ambayo iko karibu.
What's sensitive about rabies is the fact that it's transmitted to humans, and once people know that it can get to the extent of infecting humans, then there's a lot of interest that is coming from the community, all the way to knowing what rabies is all about, all the way to knowing its transmission, all the way to knowing what it's all about in terms of science, what we expect to see in a dog, what we expect to see in humans. And then once people get to that extent, then they will also be out to know what preventive measures that can come. And then by so doing, then they are in the whole program. They accept it, and by so it's really interesting that they are liking the program.
Dog bites are real, and the rabies positive dog, the rabid dogs is real, and it kills if you don't get the vaccination immediately. So we emphasize to the community, very key, to ensure the dogs are vaccinated, to ensure they go to hospital immediately, to ensure the wound is washed thoroughly before even they leave at home, and they follow with the injection until they complete. Because getting a half dose also is a problem, because you can develop rabies if the dog was rabid.
Remember where we began this story. The dog bite that could have been fatal had the dog that attacked Priscilla Mutindi been rabid. Thus, the saying, prevention is better than cure.
We're developing a policy that actually will take care of, or that will have regulations on how to handle, especially in this case, dogs, to make sure all the dogs are vaccinated. And once they are vaccinated, we give a certificate. And I mean, if your dog bites somebody, you should be able to show actually this dog has been vaccinated, and therefore the chances of that dog being rabid and transmitting the disease to a human are actually, much less. It should also be that we come up with pounds where we can, control or collect the animals and put them in a pound. And if they are not claimed, then we take the necessary actions, because we cannot continue having dogs roaming around causing these havoc to human beings.
And as the world marks the World Rabies Day, the theme is share the message, save a life. And if what has been achieved in Makueni County can be replicated across the country, then many lives will be saved. 2,000 people die of rabies every year in Kenya, meaning 5 lives are lost every day from the disease, which has no cure yet can be prevented.
Rabies mainly affects the rural poor, especially children under 15. And also in urban settings, mostly in the slum areas and areas where people are not very well to do, you find a lot of rabies cases, as opposed to affluent areas where people have access to good healthcare. So there's a direct connection between poor access to healthcare, mainly because of poverty, and the incidence of rabies. So in Kenya, mostly the rural poor are the most affected.
Every single Kenyan, for example, is important. So we should not allow a disease to ravage the life of any individual. So it is a very serious matter. And as I said, because it is 100% fatal, it will be too late if we allow it to get into the human population before we take action. Our best bet is to deal with the problem. It's even more cost effective. It's cheaper when we address the problem at the dog level. So if we share the message about dogs, why it's important to take care of dogs, why it's important to vaccinate them, we will be addressing the rabies problem, and you'll be saving a life. So you share the message about dogs, you share the message about rabies, and you save a life.
And finally, before we wind up, let's sample feedback from our last week's show.
From the online conversations, Moses says most Kenyans don't understand the real value of a dog. He says a dog is not only a pet, it's the best friend you can have, because regardless of the situation, it will never betray you. Miheso calls on the public to vaccinate dogs to eliminate rabies. Abel Kirwa, on the other hand, pledges to vaccinate his dogs, adding that he hadn't taken the issue seriously before. The effects of dog bites have been felt by the public, and as MK tweets, it is expensive to treat family members who have been bitten by dogs. Unfortunately, Benson lost his grandmother to a dog bite last year. Still on feedback, Dennis Busolo tweets, apparently dogs have so many rights and freedoms, including freedom from fear. Samuel Orutwa is concerned about roaming dogs and asks what Nairobi County is doing about it. In a tweet he says, nowadays and most commonly in informal settlements, there are so many dogs, and I wonder whether Nairobi City County is taking care of them or the society in charge of animals. Sir Hez is thanking us for what he terms as unique real stories not done by many media houses.
And with that, we come to the end of the show. Today we pitched tent in Makueni County, discussing the importance of responsible dog ownership as the world marks the World Rabies Day. On behalf of the entire crew behind this production, thank you so much for watching, and see you again next time.